We are into week 9, episode 41 of the NewsX Business World Atmanirbhar series, where we are serving a singular purpose. We are getting you the best of Indian thinking, the best of Indian industry, business, entrepreneurship, and startup founders to create a broad swathe, not only in the economic impact of this country, but the mind space of us as Indians that must drive it. It's okay to have a slogan, but the real credibility of our cause will only be tested when all of us imbibe the logic that we have pride, faith in our own entrepreneurs to provide the best kind of services, the greatest of ideas, and the best execution of business platforms that make for the best kind of products competitive globally. Once we start thinking that made in India is not only cool, fashionable, but desirable and competitive, logics will change and maybe the country will change. We have another excellent set of fine young minds that have been put together by our partners and Dr. Anurag Batra of Business World, who's been curating these panels now for, 2.5 months. Joining us on the telecast, Mr. Bhaskar Venishetty. He is the CEO of Buddy Retail. They run a brand called The Seller. Mr. Siddharth Batra, he is advocate on record of the Supreme Court from Sataram Das and Company. Ms. Kriti Sharma, she is senior commercial counsel at Law Capita. Mr. Akshay Mehrotra, he is co-founder and CEO of Early Salary. Ms. Samara Mahindra, founder and CEO of Personalized Cancer Care. Mr. Karun Taurani, Vice President of Elara Capital. Mr. Karan Verma, founder and chairman of BRC Technologies and The Big Picture. And of course, as always, Dr. Anurag Batra on the broadcast with us. Dr. Batra, why don't you set up this conversation for us?
Thank you, Rishabh. We have a set of diverse entrepreneurs and doers on the panel. Let me start with you, Bhaskar. Bhaskar, you come from the retailing domain and you retail at the airports. Last 4 months have been very tough for you. Tell us, how do you see the economic stimulus and when do you think the demand in economy will be back?
The airport concern, hope you know that we have just started about a month back now. It's only 30 days. The passenger flow is very less now because compared to old, now it's almost only, I think I can able to say only 15 to 20% passenger flow. As a retailer, I'm a travel retailer, I have a very less business. I mean, it is like a passenger flow is very less, which will be impacted for us. Almost I lost 80% business. Not only me, it's entire industries like that, which will be, we are hoping soon to get the better.
So do you see this, the international travel has also opened up a little bit, very limited way with select countries and very select routes, limited flights. Do you see your business picking up over the next 2 months, 3 months, or you see it as currently at the 10-15% levels that you are at?
Yeah, presently the government allowed only Air India, which is Vande Bharat mission, which will be, they are bringing some countries, people who are stuck in India, people, they're all bringing back, which is one. And the government similarly working with some countries like Dubai, now they have started, I think,
Germany,
and then the US, there is maybe UK it's going to start. But as for the discussions with them, maybe another 1 or 2 months it will take. The government depends on both the governments,
Okay. Siddharth, you work with entrepreneurs and you work with business people, institutions. Do you think the litigation between commercial involved parties is going up, or do you see that as a temporary kind of spike and it will kind of balance out at some stage? Plus, what has been the impact of the economic stimulus on entrepreneurs around you? Siddharth Batra?
Look, Anuragji, what has happened lately is since post the lockdown, in fact, ports have not functioned to their full strength. In fact, we are also now getting in terms to court hearing by video conferencing, and courts also that way. Judges are also now waking up to the fact that hearings have to take place by video conferencing. So things were not ready because this was not at all expected. We were not expecting COVID to stretch for so long. In fact, initially everybody thought it's going to end in 21 days. Then everybody thought 2 months, and now it's almost we are in at the end of July, and we do not see the end near. So, but courts are trying their bit, lawyers are trying their bit as well. I think our Supreme Court has taken the lead that way to hear the matters, and every court, I believe, at every level is trying. So, for that matter, litigation, if you ask me, from the perspective of litigation, in fact, a lot of people have stopped their hands as of now to go to the court, to approach the court. Obviously, things are boiling. There will be disputes because there will be defaults. And especially, moratorium is going to be picked up on payments by the 1st of August. So we will see some action after 1st of August because there will be defaults. And as you know that some of the industries have made a huge loss. If I say hotel industry, if I say airlines has made a huge loss.
QSR, restaurants.
Absolutely.
Kriti Sharma. Kriti, you work with a lot of startups. You work with
Yes, Anurag.
startups in the startup ecosystem. Now, there is a real fear, me and Rishabh have been discussing, that in lots of categories, startup
Right.
revenues have come down to almost zero or have been hit hugely.
Yes.
And on top of it, they have not been able to raise funding. And there is a
Right.
fear over the next 2 months, a lot of startups may not be able to continue. Is that a real fear or it is an exaggeration? And where do you see the economy and demand going?
So, Anurag, first of all, let's break it into two. The first aspect to it is that there is a fear, and it is a genuine fear because there is going to be a new normal, and we still don't know how the new normal is going to be. So, it's very important that we understand that there is a lot of liquidity which we need and which we are not getting. So we cannot just keep talking about, Atmanirbhar Bharat, although it's an amazing idea, and I'm all about, make in India and being a self-sustaining economy. But startups need momentum. So there are a lot of aspects, and it's not just about the rural or the urban economy. It's also about the consumers and where will they spend. And yes, because I'm also into business strategy consulting, I know as a matter of fact that investors are not prepared to deploy until and unless they understand the structure right. So there is a challenge definitely, and there is a lot of work to be done around it to gain that confidence from the investor that the money or the liquidity is going to come back. Because right now the economy is closed, the states are closed. Bihar being one of the biggest burning examples, and because these are tough, unprecedented times, there is a lot which has to be catered to, and we are still not there. So that is one side of it. And the second question which you asked about, how I
Economy and
see it.
demand coming back.
Yes, yes. So we need employees to have assurance for jobs being stable, which is not. Most of the big businesses are suspending their contracts under force majeure, and act of God is real. Like this is where the businesses are being hit, and we cannot do anything about it. Siddharth very rightly mentioned that there will be disputes in future because most of the contracts are suspended or
How long do you
terminated.
see this continuing? Do you see this changing, this weak economic environment over the near term, or do you see it over the medium term continuing?
This may stay, Anurag. At least we have to wait for the vaccine. Oxford has come up with a vaccine. I believe they are under trials. A lot of other jurisdictions and countries are working towards it. But there is a lot which has to be, contained before
we can see the
start
economy-
beginning to
economy.
work towards a better tomorrow.
Akshay, you come from the financial services sector, and you are in a space which is early salary, where you're helping employees. We spoke a month back on the same show. What has changed since then? Has the number of transactions gone up? Have your disbursements gone up? Give us insights into how is the financial ecosystem and the fintech ecosystem shaping up?
I think three things have happened, Anurag. First, demand has started to pick up. So I think last month we were saying we were
Right?
waiting
Give us
for
a sense of numbers. Once you say it's picking up, give us a sense of numbers.
So I think now we start getting almost 3,000 new people every day to the asking for money on the app. Of course, the number used to be almost 20,000 a day pre-COVID. So the number is still muted. It's only 15-20% of demand. But the good part is consumers started coming back. It almost became nil in April. It's doubling each month. So if I talk about last month to this month, we're actually seeing 3,000 people a day coming, right, which is a good number. The second part is the quality of consumers coming in has actually changed. Today we're seeing there is in the financial services much lower supply side. So large banks are muted and they're not willing to lend. That means new age companies, fintech lenders, consumer lenders, or new startup lenders are able to now capture a much superior customer coming in, which means that their portfolio quality will go up substantially. The second, I would say, in this space that we've seen, SME lenders have got access to some capital, which means that the early stage SME lenders, which lend to both MSME and SME, will start seeing businesses happen. The third, seeing liquidity opening up to some extent.
Okay.
While players are cautious and they've increased their rates marginally, but there is a liquidity opening up, and we suddenly have started seeing lots of trades where we can again get access to more debt. And
Okay.
we can service
Akshay, I'm just sorry to interject, but I'm just pick up on your thought. Now, I mean, do you guys picture yourself as a lender of last resort or a lender of first resort going ahead? And if that's the case, I mean, should we be concerned that there are less people who are desperate for an easy loan, or more people that require an easy loan?
So we were a lender of first preference because of delivery of money. Typically, money took less than 10 seconds to deliver to your bank. So typically, banks take 3 weeks, we take 10 seconds. So people come to us first, then figure out how to achieve money from a traditional bank. Right? We're not about long tenure. People will borrow for a day, 10 days, 30 days, 3 months like that from us. So we've always been lender of first preference. But this has given the opportunity that we can become the lender of a longer preference. So suddenly we went back and said, let's not give money only for 3 months. Can we have a 6-month product, a 9-month product, a 12-month product? So we have actually launched tenured products for our consumers so we can retain them for longer window. So typically, I would say a customer coming us was active for 270 days with us because of hyper repeat behavior. Now we are seeing we can almost take to 365 days because we're able to upfront give him a larger money for longer tenure. That is great, right? Now, actually, your question is a trick to the second part. Do we have liquidity to service the customer for longer tenure? Because early stage companies always had to manage liquidity with a combination of over equity component. Like we have never, like players like us have never been able to capitalize more than 2x of equity. But now the potential comes and says we can build balance sheets, we can build hyper leverage if the right quality of equity is available. So as long as your ratings stays in place, you're able to make payments to your own debt and your borrowing ratios, you can actually raise more debt.
Okay.
So I would say the next 12 months, you'll find companies who are early stage who were able to retain, let's say, or manage cash flows better will be in a much more comfortable position because the ones who are now going to survive are going to be stronger and all good money will come to these strong players.
Okay. Let's hope that there's still good money out there that's waiting to start coming. Can we get
Mr. Taurani, I want to go to Mr. Taurani first. Mr. Taurani, the media sector has seen an increase in consumption of content, but it hasn't seen increase in revenues. So tell us, this important sector, the media and entertainment sector, the TMT sector, where is it headed? Do you think in the medium term and short term with the geo impact and the pandemic impact, where are the media stocks going to be? How are media companies going to perform? Mr. Taurani?
Yeah, so I'll just come into that. Media, as you know, as a segment, there are various mediums, within that. I think print is drastically hit here in current times because for the first time you are seeing circulation revenues being hit. People are not getting in newspapers into their households. So that itself and plus the pandemic situation has had a severe impact on the print ad spends. As you rightly said, content consumption.
That was just the first 10 days. I've got all today's newspapers. For support of my friends who own newspapers, including this network which also owns 2 newspapers.
I'll also send you a PDF edition, Anurag. Yeah.
Yes. Right. The Sunday Guardian and the Daily Guardian is owned by the ITV group, which owns Newsec. So the first few days, but post that, things have resumed. But yes, they are impacted.
Right. So definitely, print is severely impacted. Radio also is impacted because of a higher share on local advertising. local
retail advertising has disappeared because retail was shut
completely
for the longest time.
Correct. So almost 40% of radio is retail advertising. So that's having a severe impact on radio. Content consumption, as you rightly said, has moved up sharply on TV, on YouTube, so on and so forth. But the is trend is installed. First week did see some lot of news back on track that would have some kind of GRP increase into ad spend increase probably next onwards. Month saw an ad decline of close to 60% to 30% of June. We are seeing traction wherein things are going to improve on this, and probably until the festive season we could see some kind of overall basis.
So Karan, I want to ask you, Mr. Turani, when will we go back to pre-COVID numbers in terms of advertising in the media sector? Will it be in November around Diwali time, October, or will it be next year? If you had to put a bet, you're the leading analyst in media in this country. Where do you think we'll land up in the next 3 to 6 months? Will we back to 100% of advertising pre-COVID, or should we expect it to happen next year? I think we lost Karan. I'll go to Samara. Samara, the healthcare sector has been in focus, but I know that the healthcare sector has itself taken an impact of about $2.5 billion in terms of losses, because while COVID patients were being dealt with, the non-COVID patient and business suffered. I know the neighborhood clinics that we all go to, we go to a specialist or we go to a journalist, their clinics have been closed. So tell us, how has been your sector impacted, your business been impacted, and how do you see things going forward, Samara?
So I can speak only from my point of view in the sense of what we do, and we work specifically with oncology patients and cancer patients. So unfortunately, when it comes to cancer, you can't put a stop to anything. Treatment has to continue. What we found was that initially there was a lot of fear associated with the patient. They were very worried to go back to the hospital. They were worried to even take treatment. Would they get the supply of treatment delivered to them, so on and so forth. So it has been a little bit of a battle to encourage patients along with the medical fraternity to assure them that it's a safe environment for them to come back to the hospital. But yes, has there been a demand for more doctors being called home? Absolutely. And the healthcare sector, of course, has been hit, but personally, in the sense of what we do, the perception of healthcare is changing drastically. So the patients that we work with a large percentage of an elderly population, as it's cancer. And we have seen a very big digital adoption of the usage of our services. Our services are delivered to a patient's home. We usually do home care services, but suddenly now they are much more willing to use online services, online consultations. So that's something that has drastically changed for us. We used to have multiple feet on the ground, and now we work completely through Zoom calls. So that's a big change. The second thing that I've noticed is that there is suddenly a more prevention is becoming an important aspect in people's lives. India always had a very reactive approach to healthcare. Something would happen to us and then we're willing to do everything we can to get well, right? But now suddenly the family members, friends, people reach out to us saying that, is there anything we can do to build our immunity, keep ourselves healthy? So I feel in terms of spending power, there is a lot that would go into actually.
Okay, so Samara, just to interject you to follow up what you're saying, when you're planning your business model, are you expecting these kind of changes to be permanent? That look, a percentage of our consultations are now going to remain digital forever, and a lot of the services will be provided at home, or are you planning that this is a 3-4 month anomaly that will get back to a different kind of pre-COVID normal?
No, I see it more as a permanent change that has taken place. There will always be a bit of both. In the work that we do, we work with patients who are in palliative situations, the end of life. You can't put them on an online platform. It's almost impossible. If you're dealing with physical rehab and you're dealing with physiotherapy and things like that, there has to be a human connection and patients and the therapists have to work together. However, I see this definitely lasting, and as she rightly said, there's a new normal. We've already started living in the new normal phase, and a big part of that new normal is going to be digital for healthcare.
Okay. Karan Verma, you're a best-selling author, you're an entrepreneur, you own a technology company. What has been the impact on business and businesses that you are associated with? Have you seen people around you, entrepreneurs around you, getting the benefit of the economic stimulus, and where do you think is the economy headed? And I do want to talk to you about the mental issues that entrepreneurs are facing.
Absolutely. I'll pick them up one by one. As far as my personal businesses and what I could see in my sector, that goes, technologies wise, when we talk of projects, yes, there has been a crunch. There has been a very bad crunch because initially there was a liquidity crunch. Post the package, I feel liquidity as an issue has been addressed quite beautifully in this package. I'm not too sure about the demand stimulation because a lot of people confuse liquidity for demand stimulation at times. For that, probably we need a lot more concrete steps at the consumer level, because we can have all the capacity we want, we can have all the supply side measures, but until and unless we don't have the consumer demand, that inventory will keep lying and it will keep adding to be a pressure to the entrepreneur. So I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs when I talk about dealers and distributors, because they actually call the shots in a technology-based business. I mean, whether it's electrical, whether it's electronics or projects, and they are pretty much the backbone of any infrastructure project that we talk about. And they're suffering. They are suffering, but I see light at the end of the tunnel. I see things picking up in the last month and a half. And another side to it is that a lot of them are into maintenance. So large-scale buildings, government buildings, they're still operational. And which is where that has come as a huge relief for many entrepreneurs in the technology sector, because their payments have been very prompt in the last 4-5 months. And the government has done a great job at that, because they realize that a lot of people are putting at risk their lives running those companies right now in these tough circumstances, and the services haven't stopped. So that is one. The other company that I head is an edu-tech startup. It deals with career mentoring, corporate training. That has seen a huge boom in the last 4-5 months. I mean, ever since the lockdown, we've seen lots of people try to understand and make sense of which careers are going to make sense now. A lot of them were very keen on, say, a hotel management or travel and tourism. Now they suddenly realize that, hang on, maybe data analytics is the next big thing, or maybe machine learning or artificial intelligence is the next big boom. So they're trying to understand, and I have a lot of people coming to me and our team where they're trying to understand what their strengths are or how they can actually calibrate the game. As far as the mental issues, I think you touched a very good subject here. We've seen people go through, we've seen them tested to the hilt here. And one heartening thing is that somewhere I believe that a lot of people have understood the importance of things that matter in life. I might be sounding a little philosophical here, but I see people recouping and coming back stronger. And the optimist in me tells me that the things are changing and improving very fast, especially in the last month and a half, I can say.
Okay. I'm just on that thought, Karan. When you're saying improving very fast, what is the logic? Is the interest moving?
Right.
Are the people willing to pay upfront moving? What is moving because if we are looking at demand and it's not B2B demand, eventually there has to be a consumer somewhere. Is that back?
Correct. No, the demand isn't back, and that is one of the biggest concerns. But what is interesting is that the resilient spirit of people, they're innovating very quickly. We are seeing a huge boom in healthcare right now, pharmaceuticals right now. We are seeing a lot of boom in online training right now. So what my bet is on is the smartness of the people. We as a people, we adapt very quickly. As much as we don't get credit for that, I've seen classrooms, education institutions, they take to online training so quickly. And I see that trend continuing. I would love to see more stimulus from the government. I've seen great liquidity
stimulus is actually getting money that people can spend.
Demand generation, and demand generation will happen only through creation of more jobs. or the government spending on infrastructure.
Correct.
I
Or
want to see them
possibly putting
giving
money
money.
directly in the
Absolutely,
hands of
absolutely.
employees through employers. These are the three possible ways. Karan,
So it has to
Sudhani,
be government
we
spending,
lost you in
yeah.
between. I was asking,
Yeah,
when do you think
okay,
we'll come back to 100% advertising in the media sector? Will it happen this year? Will it happen next year?
Sorry, sorry, I just lost you over
Yeah,
there.
100%
When will we
advertising.
Back to 100% advertising pre-COVID levels.
I think we're still 2 years away from there. I
2
think,
years?
yeah, we're still 2 years away from there.
We both
Yeah,
are in the
I mean,
media
this was
sector.
not a vested interest
In
question
2
at
years.
all. I mean, Anurag and I are not stakeholders in this at all question. Go ahead, Karan. Go
Because
ahead.
I'll tell you, I'll just explain the economics here. So if you look at events like 2009 crisis, which was a subprime crisis, if you look at demonetization, that was more of a V-shaped recovery. I think this is going to take some amount of time because this has really hit the affordability level of the consumers very, very badly. And I think consumption in many discretionary sectors will take a lot of time to rebound. And that's the reason why it will take 2 years to rebound to pre-COVID levels, at least.
Okay, Kriti, I just want to ask you a quick question before Rishabh takes a break.
Yes, Anurag.
Tell me, what should entrepreneurs be doing in these times? When you advise them on strategy, on capital raise, what is it that you tell them that they should pursue over the next 3-6 months? I mean, Karan is taking a
Right.
little longer view, but I'll take a shorter view.
No, so Anurag, see, as far as my clients are concerned, they are nervous, but they are staying put. I think Mr. Verma very beautifully have put that, we all have this tendency to adapt. However, I am looking at this panel discussion from more of the rural economy aspect. I'll come to that, but let me, honor your question. So the thing is that entrepreneurs will adapt. Of course, they have to run businesses. A lot of entrepreneurs have had a setback. So especially as we were talking about FMCG industry, a couple of my clients are struggling. So the new strategy by a few clients in that sector is that they will start buying real estate or they'll start leasing into real estate once the prices are low. So the strategy is to make hay when the sun shines. So, of course, they are trying to adapt. But as I said, a long way to go. A lot of startups
but Kriti, when it comes to your outlook, that we've seen, a lot of reforms that have been put together, which is supposed to make business easier. Some states are supposed to follow up on those reforms because some of them remain, state-led. Is that happening? Is that making life easier for clients that you advise, that there are less hassles for them to worry about?
Okay, so I got the question. Very, very important question. See, let me give you an example of the MSME grant which was announced. Now, how many banks are actually? See, we cannot it's still not mandatory that the banks honor the MSME grant which has been offered. So what are the checks and balances in place to make sure that the banks actually start lending at an expectation which has been thrown at the citizens by the government? And government has taken steps to improvise and to give a platform, but how many are actually honoring it? And I really don't think that every entrepreneur is able to manage how the pandemic has created. As far as the disruptive business models are concerned, especially the tech platforms, like the OTT platforms are doing well. The tech platforms are being, like most of the investors are looking for investees in the tech platform, and no one really is keen in FMCG.
As Anurag said, I need to take a break, but let me quickly, if I can, get Siddharth Batra for a quick thought on this. Siddharth Batra, what I was getting at, that, we were in the belief a couple of months that it wasn't just the stimulus package, that the reform package could, without having to spend money on the government's part, make the lives of everybody sitting on this broadcast a little bit easier, therefore a little bit more cost effective, and therefore open up entrepreneurship. Has that actually started happening, or is it still on paper only?
No, look, there are things on the ground happening for sure. Look, things are changing for sure. Things are happening for sure. As one of the speakers said, that yes, numbers are coming back. But numbers are coming back in specific sectors. You see specific sectors coming back. FMCG is coming back, is what I've heard. The numbers are coming back. There are companies some companies are doing very well. Some companies.
Okay, but when you're advising the companies, I mean, are you telling them, listen, because of the labor reform or because of this reform that has taken place, your life becomes easier, so you can factor that in now?
For that matter, government has a very proactive approach. At this point of time, everybody is expecting the government to be most cooperative in these circumstances. These are the most difficult times which a human generation is going through. And possibly after 1916 from the Spanish flu, we are here. It's about after 100 years, the human generation is seeing such a huge problem. So everybody is, yes, looking towards the government. Government is trying to, I believe, respond as well.
Okay.
But at the same time, I think government has its limitations as well. And we are a huge market.
Okay.
We are that way a huge economy as well.
Anurag Batra, why don't you set up the remainder of this conversation?
Rishabh, what is important is in July, there's some economic activity has picked up.
Yeah.
The numbers spiked in terms of COVID cases, but looks like in the last 2-3 days, it may peter down. Looks like, I'm not an expert, we're not sure, but looks like it's petering down. I was talking to the DC of Gurgaon in the afternoon. So I want to ask from entrepreneurs the key question of demand in the sectors where they work. How do they see demand? When will it come back? And when do they think that their businesses will be at pre-COVID levels? So I can start with Bhaskar. Bhaskar, I know you're at the airport, so clearly your life is tied to how many passengers go through the airport. So when do you think that we'll be back to 80-90% of the air traffic? Bhaskar, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, it's too early to say now. The slowly it's picking up now. I think we are almost now 20-25% now in the Delhi airport is compared to other airports. But it will be picking up. Hopefully, we'll be soon 2-3 months better passenger flow and all. Retail also slowly going up. I'm not saying that it's not retail, it's going up. So products now we was started with 10%, is gone up to 20-25%. Is particularly my business have gone up to 20-25% now. More slowly we are expecting.
Bhaskar, do you wish that your liquor stores are outside the airport? Then they wouldn't have been no dip in their thing.
No, I'm talking about retail business. I'm not talking about retail. I'm talking about the retail industry. I'm not talking about food liquor.
Okay. So you're talking about the overall retail industry.
Overall retail industry.
Retail industry. And do you think in your sector e-commerce is a good thing? Is the e-commerce in the liquor sector a good thing or a bad thing?
No, it will be difficult. It's not as at all. I have no idea in this. It is a taken government decision, the state government decision. It's not allowed to do anything as per the government norms, and it is not possible as per the rule with the excise.
Okay, if you allow me to come on to that, actually liquor is a state subject.
Right.
Exactly.
It is.
That is the decision taken by the state government.
Excise, it's completely controlled by the state government. It's one of the major pockets as well.
We saw with the queues the day the Delhi government opened up liquor stores. We saw the queues outside.
In fact, I would like to just add some perspective on that as well. Liquor industry for long, was wanting to start online delivery, which never started. But due to COVID, it has recently started, a month ago. But apparently, there's been no demand despite the online delivery being started. So it's quite surprising.
Why is that? You're an analyst. Why is that? Why do you think there is not that much demand of online delivery of liquor?
So there are two things for that. I mean, one is, people generally had already stocked up whatever they had. And there is no unity in terms of what every state is doing. So here, basically, typically how you have different taxes in different states, the kind of delivery mechanism is different for different states. Some states are using Swiggy as a partner. Some are using Amazon. So there's a lot of confusion in terms of what is happening. Secondly, I think what is happening here is that, your key audience, which basically consume the low-end whiskey or the low-end liquor, they do not have access to online payment and all those mechanisms. So I think that is also having one kind of issue. And lastly, in terms of handling, the bottling and all those kind of things, the breakage, that's one of the risks which is there. So there are multiple risks, which is there right now hitting the industry.
Step in here. I think it's
Karan, I want to ask one more.
Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That's the major point.
Karan, I want to ask you, do you think in media entertainment in the next 6 to 9 months, we'll see consolidation, we'll see mergers and acquisitions? And if you had to make 1 or 2 predictions on NewsX, what would those be?
Yeah, please. Let's discuss merger and acquisitions of media companies on a media channel. Perfect.
I think definitely you'll see a lot of consolidation in the broadcasting. It has already got consolidated. We have just about 5 broadcasters operating in the country, out of which 3 are MNCs and backed by MNCs, and 2 are basically the domestic broadcasters. I think this number could arguably move to at least 3, almost 3 in the next 1 year, and that's one thing which is going to happen first. And I think the second thing where there will be consolidation is obviously OTT. So India, you see there are about 35 plus OTTs in India today. And I think that's a large enough market. And given the high content investments, given the kind of high cost overruns you have in the OTT business, most of them are running into massive losses. And I think there'll be a huge amount of consolidation opportunity there as well.
Okay.
Radio, of course, there are again about 6 large networks which are operating. They're all backed by some large media house. You could see that number going half because radio segment again is seeing a sharp decline in terms of ad spends. And print largely is more or less consolidated in terms of the larger players, secondary players which are there. But the regional players can, be taken over by the larger players.
Okay, and if this all happens or doesn't happen, then that will definitely boost liquor sales in journalists. If you ever attended a journalist party, you know that it's a heavy liquor sale party. Let's get Akshay. Akshay wanted to come in, Akshay, but let's just take it on a slightly different tack. Is there something exciting to be hopeful about? Because if you look at it from a contrarian point of view, cost cuttings have happened. A lot of pain has taken place. There is a greater understanding between employers and employees of the desperate nature of the situation. Because if 5 years ago we had said that the media industry was in trouble, people would have said, that's just, you guys making hay for no reason. Is there some excitement that, okay, there is cheap capital available for good companies and who knows, things could happen?
Akshay?
No, so the first part about entrepreneurship, right? See, entrepreneurs take calls really early. So I think by 3rd or 4th of April, we already took calls who we are keeping, who we are not, how are we cutting down our cost, how are we going to sustain, how will you have a surviving company next 2 years?
Yeah.
It wasn't about survival for 27 days of lockdown. It was really about 2 years, how are we going to survive? Right? Now, the second part was, we said, if we're going into that mode, then how are we rebuilding the company? So once we knew our cash flows for next 2 years, now it's much more easy to plan a company out. And if you look at today, after 3 months, once you're meeting your investors again, you're meeting your board again, you have a clear strategy. This is what you're achieving. This is the new plan. And now I know where I'm going to grow. Right? That's the first part of entrepreneurship. And we all, I think I've at least spoken to a few hundred of them in the last 100 days. We all echo the same thought. Now comes the second part. It's really about which are the places that you want to invest well so that you can grow in a fast speed and yet come back to your original, let's say, business plan levels. So I think if I look at for my own example, there was a time we used to chase a top line number. Then there was a time we chased a bottom line number. Today we started chasing consumer numbers. I think today we are all modifying our businesses to some extent. For example, while we are strong in doing these instant loans, we're also trying to get into consumer finance, education loans, etc. So
is the cost of capital becoming cheaper? I mean, is it, the only two things matter, the cost of capital, is it becoming cheaper and is it available?
So it's available, cost of capital. Once it's available, then the cost starts falling, right? I would say it wasn't easy. See, financial companies have gone through 2 NBFC collapses, 1 banking collapse.
Yeah.
Right. So we have already, it's like we almost lost 2 hands and a leg and we were hopping. And then COVID hit us. So we're really strong, right? So
let's get Samara on that.
Akshay, I want to ask you, Rishabh, I want to ask him, and Akshay, I want a real answer. Ant Financial was the biggest investor in your overall ecosystem. Now, Ant, which is owned by Alibaba, has gone out of the equation. Unsaid, I mean, they can invest, but it's subject to government approval, right?
Right.
It is not an automatic approval anymore. So, is that a good thing or is it a bad thing?
I think it's a very good thing. I'll tell you why. I'll give an example of, again, financial categories. You could open a financial company in China and compete. Then why would the reverse be allowed in other markets, right? Once about product, you can go and sell anywhere in the world, but the finance is the core of any economy, right?
Yeah.
That's level playing field. If we can run a business there, then it should be allowed reverse. The second part, any slowdown creates opportunity. Right? And it's a great time for, let's say, electronic manufacturers. Can they manufacture products to make the new phone in India?
Yeah.
Right. And that, I think, is a huge opportunity for startups.
Yeah. For that, we need to make the silicon chips in India. I'll make a sales pitch for it also. Karan, go ahead. Then let's get Samara back in. Karan, go ahead.
Yeah. Talking about electronic manufacturing, it's a huge opportunity right now. But unfortunately, even if we have this tension with China going on, we do not at times have the resources to keep the costs down. And you'll be surprised to know that China actually has a trade deficit with so many of East Asian countries, with so many of countries like Taiwan, like Philippines, like even Australia for that matter. If we can have some smart trade negotiators where we can, bypass China and have our inputs secured from there, which is what
from
we
Vietnam and many other places.
Entrepreneurs are. From Vietnam and many other places. I think we are in a position to really give local manufacturing or make in India.
Yeah, but I'll only make the one sales pitch.
Think strategically.
Yeah, that we need to make the silicon chip here. Once you make the silicon chip here, then we can have so many of these conversations. I believe movement on that is happening. I believe there's some movement. But let me take a different.
I think we need to open up our trade relations with many East Asian countries.
Well, I'm interviewing a panel from Vietnam immediately after this. So I'll take up that question with them.
Yeah. Samara,
Sure.
What is your view on what Rishabh asked? Is there something to be cheerful about, hopeful about? And if yes, what is that?
Yes, I mean, the world is changing. Like we said, that everything is changing. And as he was rightly said, that when there is a slowdown, there's opportunity. We are in the biggest slowdown the globe has ever seen. So we are full of opportunities ahead of us. It's just how you view it.
Give us a sense of one or two opportunities.
Well, I can only talk in the sense of healthcare and the perspective of prevention in India. Suddenly, people are going to spend more on preventative healthcare. People are going to spend more on taking care of themselves, doing what is required and putting money behind that. So for us, I see that.
But Samara, okay, let me ask it in a different way. I mean, are you thinking next 6 months that look, let's try to hold on to what we've got, make it profitable and try to reinvest some profits? Or are you thinking that, look, here's a time and an opportunity where a clear path is visible. We've tried and tested it. The proof of concept exists. This is what people want. We think it's a fundamental change. Now let's invest in that, not just reinvest profits.
A bit of both, actually. So the first reaction was reserve cash, right? As a startup, you don't know what tomorrow holds. So you said just reserve what you have right now and let's play this out. But as it's being played out, it is a bit of both. So yes, there is one perspective of saying, okay, let's keep it going, keep it sustainable. Raising funds really is not as lucrative as it was. So let's reserve.
What you mean is valuations are not that lucrative.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You mean valuations are not that lucrative?
Yes, absolutely. And so a bit of both, but at the same time, my eyes are opening to a new opportunity of prevention. We have never worked in prevention, especially in cancer, and we have a gamut of people who reach out to us asking us to, and they want to invest in preventive healthcare. So,
Anurag, go ahead. Yeah.
Siddharth, I hear in the last 2 weeks a lot of large and mid-sized law firms are looking at retrenchment. They're themselves looking at cutting costs and cutting salaries. That clearly tells you that there is less economic activity. So
and an increase in suicides.
Yeah, so I would
among lawyers.
Siddharth and Preeti, over the last 5 weeks, 4 young lawyers committed suicide because of commercial issues, lack of work, so on and so forth, coupled with other things. So tell us, when do you see the economic activity and hence the legal work for lawyers going up, for law firms going up?
Look, Anuragji, for that I believe courts have to be proactive as well. I believe lawyers, yes, want to go to the court, but it's not possible at this point of time. You must have seen in the newspapers about 2 days back, there was a comment made by the Supreme Court as well as to whether lawyers can take up any other profession, any other avocation at this point of time or not. There have been voicings that have been coming because, yes, I can say that majority of the lawyers have to sit home number to the fact that the courts are closed for now. And then obviously people are not coming forth as well. Cases are not being filed. Fresh cases, I think, have come down to 20% of what they were. Courts are not able to function properly. So yes, there has been, I must say that there has been a complete effect on lawyers as such. Our profession anyway is a very promising profession. But for a young lawyer, for the first 5 years, it's one of the difficult times.
Very stressful.
Kriti, at the very beginning of this crisis, I sat down with about 6 young lawyers, literally, still in their 20s. to discuss what their plans were, and they were difficult plans. And now, so what is the way forward here? Because there's certain things that can't be changed.
Look, I must tell you, the profession what used to be 10 years back is not the same. It's much better. It's more promising. Young lawyers are doing very well, I must say. And I can say that after the initial years, some of the young lawyers are doing much better than an architect and doing much better than a CS or a CA. And for that matter, I can say doctors as well.
Well, you're right. I keep looking back and thinking of all my friends who became lawyers, why I became a journalist. But on that thought, Kriti, on the slightly serious note, because it's in every field, but some fields get discussed a lot more often than this one. What's the way out?
Before Kriti makes a serious point, I want to make a very important but not a serious point. You are no longer the lawyer, Rishabh. You are the judge.
Anything but that. Anything but that. Maybe on some other channel.
Yes.
Kriti, go ahead.
We agree. Kriti, for you to respond.
Yes, so see, we have already discussed mental health on this platform today. So I think because of the pandemic, the retrenchment, and this is not just happening with lawyers, this is happening across the sectors. The level of reduction in headcount, and the companies won't stop working. People are still working. Businesses are still running. So the pressure, the added pressure due to the reduction in headcount, is something which is creating all the stress. And I think there is an ethical responsibility on seniors and law firms and in-house, even as in-house counsels, at a lot of time support functions, which we are. Lawyers are business enablers and support functions. They are not the main stakeholders.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stress which boils down on people who are providing these services. So I personally think that just because we have a pandemic facing us, there is a need of sensitivity, and it is not just for lawyers, but it is for every employee who is a part of a business which is struggling to stay put, and even the lower strata, the rural economy, which right now is struggling. I personally think not everybody is evolved enough to keep their mental health aligned and streamlined. So there's a lot which needs to be done, and because we are talking about revival of the economy, the citizens are the currency. The ideas are the currency.
Well,
if we talk about outdoing China, I'll just finish. I'll just take a minute. If we talk about outdoing China, and we need to have better production lines, we need to have a manpower which can create, and which can give us an output which is better than what China has produced. There's a reason why the economy and the global jurisdictions go to China, because it's the quality assurance and the way they work. And this is exactly what we need to create, and we lack in it. And we have to accept it. We cannot.
Yeah, so just be better. That's the logic of be better. And the stark reality that in a time of difficulty can bring out the worst in us, but it can also bring out the best in us. I'm hoping the more of the best in us comes out. But Karan Verma,
let's see the glass half full.
Yeah, well, let's try, because the stress is across the board. I've dealt with stress all my life. I do a stressful job, but I've never dealt with anxiety like I have in the past 3 months. Because people you are calling into work, you are responsible for their safety also, and they're looking up to you. Your families are looking up to you. That's the level of stress I'd rather not be dealing with. Karan Verma, just let's spin it on the tangent that we were on earlier, and what Kriti mentioned in passing. That in the end, a part of the revival of the Indian economy is going to be delivering to the Indian story. That we deliver to the Indian consumers the best products, and if we do that, we don't have to very much worry about foreign markets. The demand can be generated locally. How do we get the best apps which are going to replace all these Chinese apps that we are banning up? I believe in the 200 apps are on the anvil. How do we get the best mobile phones and the best laptops and all of this made here?
One line. Skills are the new grades. If we can incorporate that in our curriculum, in our schools, in our education institutes, we have a long way to go. We have unbelievable talent in this country, in terms of making apps, in terms of coding. Think about it. Back in the 90s or the early 2000s, coding came as a huge boom. Today, I'm telling you right here, we have it in us to be the artificial intelligence capital of the world. We have it in us to be the solar energy capital of the world, and also be the pharmaceutical capital of the world. These are three major employment intensive industries.
No, but
that are waiting
what's been
for that.
what's been stopping it, Karan, for so long? I mean, I long suspect it's the
Yeah.
agar desi hai to doubtful hai logic, that we ourselves have a doubt that just because it's locally produced, unless it's imported from somewhere, and that might be from China, it's somehow better.
Right. Our schools and institutes are failing us. I'm saying it in as many clear
Yeah, you're
words.
right. Absolutely
That's-
right.
Absolutely. That's predated on, learning methods which are almost primitive. That doesn't work now. The internet has changed the world. It no longer matters whether you know who's the first person to climb the Mount Everest. You can have it at the click of a button. Skills, leadership skills like emotional intelligence, how to handle stress, how to handle a situation like this, that's never taught. I mean, we see so many people so good in academics and they wilt under pressure. Why do we see that?
No, but
Because they
it's
never
also about
imbibe
skill
those
addition.
skills.
You need not know who Norgay and
Correct.
Tenzing are, but you at least have to know
Yeah.
what about Mount Everest is. You'll be surprised of how many people who don't even know
Correct.
that. There's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get Samara back into this. Samara, when you are hiring a team, okay, is it still about the reality that when we look at a CV and we say, okay, I've done my internship and I've done my BA, and like any good Indian, we keep studying until we get employed? Or is it, you've been to Harvard and you've been to Cambridge, and this also holds that extra value in terms of making a hiring decision?
So when we hire, obviously there is a certain segment of prerequisite that you require because it's a medical company, right?
Yeah.
But no, not at all. I don't even look at a CV, to be honest. It's about the person sitting in front of me and just their mindset and how they are willing to approach the problem ahead. So for me personally, it's not about how which college you came out of, but I completely echo what Karan is saying, is that if you want to make a change, it is in education. I mean, you have to change the foundation of the way people think and learn, and that can be done in this country.
I agree with you. I was an unemployable youth when I finished my education, and I had the best kind of education. I had to learn everything
And
on the
look
job.
what you did. And look what you did.
Anurag, no, I promise you, and I tell everybody who comes to work with us that you have to educate yourselves. After you're 18, it's on you to educate yourself. Anurag Batra, I know we are short on time, but you probably want to do your rapid fire.
Yes. So, Rishabh, I would like to ask all the panelists one prediction for the next 6 months in terms of business and economy. And if they don't want to do that, I would like to ask them, will our economy will be better in 3 months from now? Will be worse off, or will be tepid like what it is right now? I'll start with Siddharth. One prediction about the business and economy in 3 to 6 months.
I expect it to come back. I think things have already started to come back. People have realized the reality that we have to live with it. I see this, it's going to be, I believe, it should be a V-shaped recovery. And we should come back with things. People are now not taking it so seriously. I know, obviously, persons of age group of 60 have to, above the age of 60, or somebody who has an ailment has to take it very seriously. But people have realized we have to live with it. World has to go on, and the country has to go on as well. I think in 3 months, we are seeing a recovery for sure.
Okay.
As one of the speakers said that with regard to the vaccination that's going to come up, Oxford is the one who's leading, and Adar Poonawala from India.
Okay.
Yeah.
Siddharth, you're saying we'll be back with a V-shaped recovery. Ms. Mahindra, your comment?
I think it's definitely better. It's going to be definitely better than what it is. It is coming back, but I don't see things back to complete normal till there's a complete vaccination. Like what was said by one of the speakers, we adapt. Humans are natures of we adapt very well to the environment around us. So that's going to happen.
Karan Turani?
Yeah, so basically I have a very deferred view over here. I think the situation will worsen in the next 3 to 6 months. Definitely, there will be some segments which will do well, which will probably innovate, move to digital, something like a QSR, moving to digital, e-commerce. But largely, most segments will not do well because there'll be a fear psychosis in the consumer mind. I don't see consumers stepping out too much unless it is for essentials. And the main problem in India is basically the healthcare infra, which is very, very poor. So even if something were to happen to you, you don't get a bed in hospital. So I think until there's a vaccination, until the number of cases come down drastically, I don't see any kind of recovery.
Oscar Shetty?
I think it will take 6 to 12 months. Hopefully it will be come back to a regular situation.
Okay. 12 months. Karan Verma?
I see a bounce back, and I see a
In
bounce
what
back. That's
and how
going
much
to-
time period? 6 months,
I
12 months,
see
24 months?
Yeah, I
Well-
see it in 6 to 8 months, but the trends post 3 months are going to be in the positive direction. There are going to be some sectors which are going to be hammered. That's unfortunate. I don't see them recovering that soon. Cinema halls could be one, restaurants could be another, travel tourism. That will not recover so soon. But others, I think they'll adapt and come back much stronger.
Okay, all right, Akshay.
Akshay, you'll have to unmute yourself, Akshay.
I think most importantly, life will come back, right? But the important, many things which were going to take years to happen, ML, automation, running plants remotely, getting things delivered through a drone, all of them are going to come back so fast, right? They're going to be there. I think look at the way RBI came out with video KYC swiftly, fast, is already implemented with most players. I think many more things are going to happen. I talked to so many of my friends who are now building automation for factories, right? If that happens, the entire problem of how to make better will just diminish. And
Okay.
I think the next 6 months is going to be hyper innovation happening.
Okay,
and
last
that will
30
make
seconds.
us-
Okay,
last-
Kriti.
Kriti Sharma, your final word.
Thank you. So I think it's going to still stay subdued, and I don't want to make it look like a first world problem. We have bigger battles to fight. The lower strata is still struggling. There might be, no restaurants and no theaters, but who cares if my, economy is suffering, and I don't see it, coming back anytime into a U-turn in 6 or 12 months. There's a lot which needs to be done, and I think it won't happen if we do not.
Okay,
open
so
the
as long as people are getting fed and staying alive, that's a start. We've run out of time desperately. It's been a very engaging conversation as always. Thank all of you. And we wish you all the best with all the work that you do and the companies that you're running. And if you're coming up with interesting things, come and reach out to us on NewsX. We want the people of the country to hear, because we want you to be successful. So keep at it, despite in difficult times.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.